Arrowhead Stadium buzzed like a hive of electricity. Playoff night. A sky laced with floodlights. The smell of tailgates still lingered in the cold January air as Patrick Mahomes jogged out to a thunderous ovation. This wasn't just a game, this was legacy. Mahomes had done it all. MVPs, Super Bowls, fourth-quarter comebacks that defied logic. He wasn't just the Chiefs' quarterback. He was Kansas City's heartbeat. And when he stepped onto the field, you expected magic. But tonight, something felt off. The first half was shaky. Missed throws, broken coverages, sloppy execution. Mahomes had remained composed, dapping teammates, staying vocal, urging calm. That was his thing. Poise under pressure. But by the fourth quarter, that poise was gone. With the Chiefs trailing by 4, tensions boiling, and the offense misfiring, something finally snapped. After a miscommunication on a critical third down, an incomplete pass that should have been an easy first, Mahomes ripped off his helmet and stormed to the sideline. And then, the eruption. Yelling, pointing, throwing a tablet, not at the referees, not at the opposing team, at his own. For the first time, the NFL's calmest superstar was unraveling in real time, and the cameras caught every second. But this wasn't just anger. It was something deeper, something personal. The footage hit social media within minutes, Mahomes slamming the tablet onto the turf, his lips curled in fury. Coaches trying and failing to calm him down. Fans watching from home were stunned. This wasn't the Patrick they knew. And yet, to those close to the team, the explosion had been building. Field mics caught fragments. "You're not listening. We practiced that exact play. Do your damn job." It wasn't just yelling. It was betrayal laced in disbelief. Instead of sitting with the offense, Mahomes stood alone, arms crossed, helmet in hand, face stone cold. Shane Buechele, the backup, approached him cautiously, whispering something. Mahomes didn't even respond. He just stared at the field like he couldn't believe what was happening. The broadcasters went silent for a beat, unsure what to say. "That's not something you usually see from Mahomes," one finally muttered. But fans weren't confused. They were rattled. The golden boy of the NFL was unraveling, and it wasn't because of the scoreboard. It was something deeper, something fractured, a bond, a trust, and the world had just witnessed it tear in half on national TV. The question now wasn't what happened. It was who caused it. Arrowhead had gone quiet, not in volume, but in spirit. The crowd kept cheering, but something felt off. You could feel it even through the screen. Mahomes was pacing like a man betrayed. Coaches gave him space. Teammates avoided eye contact. Something sacred had been broken. And then came the rumors. Inside sources began texting reporters minutes after the final whistle. Words like fracture, tension, and trust issues started popping up in headlines. In the post-game press conference, Mahomes looked composed, but his voice? Flat. "We didn't execute," he said, eyes down. "I'm not going to point fingers, but everyone's got to be on the same page." He didn't name names, but he didn't need to. Social media lit up with speculation. Clip after clip analyzed the outburst from every angle. Lip readers dissected his words. Former players weighed in. "That wasn't frustration," one ex-QB said on ESPN. "That was someone reaching his limit." And then came the leaks. Anonymous quotes surfaced in DMs and Reddit threads, one from a source allegedly inside the locker room. "Pat feels like he's carrying everybody, and when guys keep letting him down, he snaps." The narrative was shifting fast. Mahomes wasn't angry. He was done being quiet. The morning after the loss, the Chiefs' facility felt like a war zone. Players filed in with hoods up and headphones on, avoiding eye contact, dodging reporters. What happened on the field was one thing. What happened afterward? That was something else entirely. Behind closed doors, tempers flared. According to insiders, the film session turned into a disaster. Coaches tried to run through tape like it was any other Monday, but Mahomes wasn't having it. "Don't rewind that," he reportedly snapped when a missed route replay was paused. "We've already seen enough. The room froze. Receivers shifted in their chairs. One muttered under his breath, and Mahomes stood up. "Say it louder," he said. "Be a man and say it loud." A coach stepped in. The moment passed. Barely. Later that day, a veteran lineman texted a reporter anonymously. That was the day the locker room split in two. Mahomes, the usually upbeat leader, had reached his limit. He wasn't sugarcoating anymore. He wasn't smoothing things over. And the front office? They took notice. Team security started monitoring player social media activity. Anonymous leaks were traced. One account, newly created, had been followed by 3 Chiefs players, 2 of whom were receivers. Suddenly, every player was a suspect. And Mahomes? He was done guessing. By midweek, the tension was no longer a secret. Reporters outside the Chiefs' facility could sense the shift. Mahomes skipped a scheduled media appearance, an unusual move for the face of the league. But inside the building, he wasn't quiet. Sources say Mahomes called a private meeting, not with coaches, not with management, just the offense. When everyone gathered, he stood at the front of the room. No slideshow, no script, just raw honesty. "I've covered for you. I've stood by you, but I won't be disrespected." The room was dead silent. "You want to talk about pressure?" he continued. "Try carrying a city, a legacy, and a billion-dollar brand every Sunday. And then watch someone in this room stab you in the back the moment things go wrong." One receiver tried to interject. Mahomes cut him off. "Save it. If you've got a problem with me, say it now. Don't run to Twitter. Don't hide behind leaks. Be real." No one spoke. According to insiders, that meeting marked a turning point. Mahomes didn't call names, he didn't raise his voice, but he made one thing crystal clear. Loyalty wasn't optional anymore. That day, the Chiefs didn't just have a quarterback. They had a general. The next day, players filed into the film room, but the usual banter was gone. What used to be a place of strategy and jokes had turned into a war room. The air was thick. Everyone was on edge. Assistant coaches tried to keep the session normal. But when they queued up the fourth quarter footage, the missed route, the incomplete pass, and the explosion on the sideline, nobody looked at the screen. They all looked at Mahomes. He didn't flinch. The wide receiver responsible for the route mistake sat quietly in the back, shoulders stiff, eyes locked on the floor. The tension was unbearable. Finally, the offensive coordinator paused the video. "Anybody want to talk about it?" Silence. "Anyone?" Still nothing. And then Mahomes stood. "Run it again," he said calmly. "Everyone needs to see what happens when one mistake costs a season." Some players shifted uncomfortably. A few nodded. But the message landed. This was no longer about the play. It was about trust. And everyone now understood. Mahomes wasn't lashing out. He was drawing a line. That moment shifted the season's tone. Film study became personal. Every missed block, every mistimed step, no longer just mental errors. Now, they were threats to the kingdom. Off the field, things were spiraling faster than anyone expected. The media had caught wind of the locker room drama, and the headlines weren't kind. Mahomes meltdown, Chiefs in chaos, Golden Boy cracks under pressure. The narrative was spinning. But inside Arrowhead, the real tension wasn't with the media. It was with each other. Behind the scenes, team staff were scrambling. PR handlers whispered in corners. Veteran players held closed-door talks without coaches. And the receivers' coach? He looked more nervous than anyone, because rumor had it, he knew who the leak came from. According to one insider, a heated exchange happened behind closed doors between Mahomes and that very coach. Voices were raised. Doors slammed. No one would say what was said. But after that day, the coach stopped showing up to morning strategy meetings. There's a reason quarterbacks and head coaches hold the weight. But when trust breaks down between a quarterback and the staff tasked with shaping his weapons, it's like cutting a wire on a bomb. The Chiefs had a choice: bury the drama or confront it head-on. And Mahomes? He wasn't interested in burying anything anymore. He wanted accountability, and he wanted it fast. As rumors swirled in the press, the Chiefs organization turned inward. The building was no longer just a place of preparation, it had become a fortress. Everyone was watching everyone else. And that's when the whispers started. A former staffer anonymously told a local radio host, "This wasn't just about a blown play. Mahomes found out someone he trusted had been talking. Off the record. The kind of talk that ruins chemistry." Other players got spooked. Some deleted tweets. A few scrubbed their Instagram stories. One even stopped showing up to voluntary workouts altogether. The energy had shifted. The betrayal wasn't just on the field. It was seeping through every hallway, every group chat, every film session. In sports, loyalty is everything. And Mahomes wasn't just betrayed by a missed route or a leaked quote. He was betrayed by a system that let it happen. Then came the breaking point. A journalist from The Athletic posted a cryptic tweet. "Sources inside the Chiefs say the mole wasn't a player." The internet exploded. If it wasn't a player, was it a coach? A staffer? Someone from the front office? Mahomes already had his suspicions, and soon, so would the world. With OTAS underway, a different kind of energy surrounded Arrowhead. Gone was the light-hearted camaraderie of previous camps. No dancing in the locker room, no playful banter between drills. Instead, there was a sense of cold precision, focus, accountability, and at the center of it all, Patrick Mahomes, helmet on, eyes locked in. Sources close to the team describe Mahomes as surgical. No wasted words, no distractions. Just football. But behind that laser focus was a mission far deeper than X's and O's. NFL insider. He's rebuilding his circle. Quietly, strategically. The days of second chances are over. That rebuilding started with Travis Kelce. The two began spending more time together. Film sessions, private workouts, late-night texts breaking down defensive coverages. Then came the surprise addition of a veteran wide receiver, known more for discipline than flash, who'd played under Andy Reid a decade ago. The message? Experience and loyalty were back in style. And it wasn't just on offense. Mahomes was spotted chatting with defensive captains during walkthroughs, something he rarely did in prior seasons. Leadership wasn't about one side of the ball anymore. It was about culture. Mahomes wasn't just trying to win games. He was reshaping the soul of the team. And in the process, he was reminding everyone who really leads the kingdom. Behind the scenes, the Chiefs' front office was in uncharted territory. For years, Mahomes had been the golden goose, generational talent, squeaky clean image, the kind of player you build statues for while he's still in uniform. But now, after the sideline blow-up and the locker room leak, a question loomed that no one dared say out loud. Could this fracture grow beyond repair? Inside the war room, it wasn't just about contracts and cap space anymore. It was about trust. Who still had it, and who had quietly lost it? NFL executive, anonymous. Pat won't say names publicly, but make no mistake, he's made his list. One assistant coach was reassigned. Another quietly exited the building after mutual discussions. But perhaps most telling, the front office hired a team psychologist, one who specialized in high-pressure leadership dynamics. And guess who reportedly requested the addition? Mahomes. The organization had always treated Patrick as a superstar. But now, they were treating him like a general. Meanwhile, film sessions were different. Mahomes wasn't just leading them, he was curating them, calling out missed assignments, pausing film, rewinding plays until the smallest errors were corrected. The locker room, divided no more. It had become quiet, focused, obsessive, because Mahomes wasn't just preparing for week 1, he was preparing for revenge. As the off-season unfolded, something became very clear to those watching closely. The Chiefs were moving differently. Training camp invite lists were shorter. Position battles that normally lasted into preseason were abruptly decided, and players who had once been considered locker room favorites were either demoted, traded, or mysteriously absent from practice. What looked like typical roster turnover wasn't. It was a purge. There's something methodical about these moves. They're cleaning house, and no one's saying it, but this has Patrick Mahomes written all over it. Two wide receivers were released within 48 hours of each other. A backup offensive lineman who was known for joking around too much during meetings, gone. A veteran tight end who hadn't played a snap in months, but had a big locker room presence, waved without comment. And through it all, Mahomes remained silent. But teammates noticed something. The tone was different. The expectation? Higher than ever. Rookie QB Anonymous. Being around Pat this summer felt like being around a CEO. He's laser-focused. Everything is earned. Every representative, every nod, every look. It wasn't fear, it was respect. Recalibrated. Rebuilt. Because if Patrick Mahomes was betrayed once, he was making sure it never happened again. After the quiet purge, the energy inside the Chiefs' facility shifted. No more whispers, no more smirks in the back of film sessions. There was a new urgency in the air. And it all started with Mahomes. He wasn't yelling. He wasn't pointing fingers. He was building. Mahomes began hosting private workouts with select teammates, early morning sessions at a local high school field with no press, no cameras. The group, smaller, tighter, hungrier, no leaks, no excuses, just football. NFL Insider. Those sessions? That's where the new trust started. Pat wasn't just throwing balls. He was rebuilding a team culture, one pass at a time. Meanwhile, the front office got busy too. The Chiefs signed a veteran wide receiver, known more for discipline than highlight reels. A former offensive coordinator was brought back as an advisor. And rumors swirled that Mahomes had personally vetted a new rookie draft pick before the team pulled the trigger. This wasn't just a response to betrayal. It was a blueprint for domination. In every detail, practice schedules, locker room dynamics, playbook tweaks, you could see his fingerprints. Because Mahomes wasn't just preparing for a season. He was preparing for a reckoning. While Kansas City rebuilt in silence, the rest of the league watched closely. Rivals weren't just preparing for Mahomes, the quarterback. They were bracing for Mahomes, the leader, the one who'd been burned and wasn't going to forget. In sports, betrayal has a strange side effect. It doesn't just harden your edges, it sharpens your aim. Inside AFC war rooms, Mahomes became the obsession. Defensive coordinators dissected his every gesture from the infamous sideline blow-up. Analysts tried to decode his new chemistry with teammates. Opposing players, many off the record, admitted a growing unease. A pissed-off Patrick is the scariest version, one cornerback reportedly said. He's not yelling anymore. That's worse. Meanwhile, whispers reached Kansas City's ears. An anonymous player on a rival team allegedly said, "He'll choke again. You'll see. That team's fragile." The quote made it back to Mahomes. He didn't post it. He didn't speak on it. He just printed it out and taped it to his locker. The betrayal had already awakened something in him. Now, the doubt was fuel, because Mahomes wasn't coming back just to win. He was coming back to make the league regret ever doubting him. Training camp ended with a storm, not in the sky, but on the field. Mahomes, laser-focused, didn't smile much, didn't talk much, but every throw, a message, every drill, a declaration. The Chiefs weren't rebuilding, they were reloading. And then, opening night. The stadium lights ignited, the crowd roared, and the cameras, every single one, locked onto number 15. But this wasn't the same Patrick Mahomes. Gone was the easy grin. Gone was the Mr. Nice Guy vibe. This version, stoic, calculated, ruthless. On his wrist he wore a black band, stitched in white. Loyalty over likes. Commentator, this is a different Mahomes. You can feel it. He didn't just torch the defense. He dismantled it. 5 touchdowns, no turnovers, not a word wasted. But the real moment came post-game. As the press swarmed, a reporter asked, "What changed this season, Pat?" Mahomes paused, looked straight at the camera. "Nothing changed. I just stopped pretending everything was okay and walked off." Patrick Mahomes was betrayed, humiliated, doubted, dismissed. But he didn't break. He evolved. Now, he's not just playing for trophies. He's playing for truth, for trust, for revenge. And the NFL, it better be ready, because the king is back. And he's keeping receipts. The victory wasn't just a win. It was a warning. In the locker room, Mahomes didn't celebrate. He sat quietly, peeling tape from his wrists, watching film already loaded on a tablet. Around him, teammates stayed silent, not out of fear, but respect. Something had shifted. One young receiver, new to the roster, whispered to a veteran, "Did you see how he looked at us in the huddle? Like we were either with him or gone." Mahomes didn't have to say it. His presence spoke louder than any speech. The betrayal lit the match. But what it sparked, that was something darker, sharper, relentless. No more second chances. No more patience for ego or excuses. From now on, it's Mahomes' kingdom, and in his kingdom, loyalty isn't a suggestion. It's law. And those who break it, they don't get benched, they get erased. This isn't redemption. This is reign.